Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, As-salatu was-salamu ala Rasulillah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you desperately look around for help, only to find that all doors are closed and that you're trapped and there is no way out whatsoever? Has it ever felt like every door in your path is locked, sealed, and bolted? If you have, then consider yourself fortunate. Because if you have, then you will truly be able to comprehend and appreciate this beautiful name of Allah. The name is Al-Fattah, the opener. The block that you experience could be as small as not understanding a complicated concept in a class, or as significant as continuously applying for jobs and just not getting a call back. It could be as light as trying to get a hold of someone, or as immense as being stuck in a whirlpool of depression. In such a situation, you have two choices. You could either keep banging your head on the closed door, end up with a bruised forehead, and still be stuck behind the door. Or you could simply use the key and open it. And using the key is as simple as turning to the best of openers, Al-Fattah. It is through knowing Allah as Al-Fattah that you can finally find the key to opening that locked door in your path. We need to know Al-Fattah when we feel that things are impossible or too difficult, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invites you to know Him by this name in those circumstances. Allah Al-Fattah is one who shows us and opens for us the way out of misery and distress. It is He who opens the door to His blessings and mercy. The nature of life is that we fall into difficult times. But remember that the night is darkest before dawn. Allah is Al-Fattah means that He opens the way out of hardship for His creation. When hardship befalls you, whether it's significant or insignificant, remember that one of Allah's attributes is to be Al-Fattah, the opener of doors out of distress. Call on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with this name to open your way out of suffering. However, His opening does not end with just the opening of way out of misery. Allah Al-Fattah is also the opener of hearts. There are times in our lives when we have an iman low, when our concentration in prayer might not be the strongest, and we simply feel a loss of connection with Allah. Remember that Allah is the opener of hearts, and call on Him by His name Al-Fattah to open your heart to Him, for it is in His attributes to do so. He opens even those hearts that resist and fight and refuse. Remember that the same day Umar radiallahu anhu intended to kill the Prophet of Islam sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the same day he converted to Islam. Allah Al-Fattah opens the door of guidance to His path. So when you find people who seem to be so far away from Islam, stop being judgmental about them. And remember Al-Fattah, the opener of the heart, who opened the heart of Umar radiallahu anhu and made him one of the best of the Ummah, can also open their hearts to His guidance. And Allah Al-Fattah is also the opener of the doors of knowledge, whether it's concerning this dunya or His religion. The very fact that you are now listening to this is only because Al-Fattah has decreed that the door of knowledge to knowing Him be open to you. The greatest and the most outstanding manifestation of Al-Fattah with regards to opening His door of knowledge to His slaves is the Quran itself. Another characteristic of Al-Fattah, the opener, is that He opens to His slaves what is best for their lives and what will straighten their path. One of the most common dilemmas we all face is having to choose something haram for fear of losing something too great or valuable. And the biggest example is taking interest-based loans. If you need to buy a home or a car or start a business, you think there just isn't any other way than to take the loan and pay the interest, even though you're pretty well aware of the seriousness of the sin in Allah's sight. And most of us do end up giving into it, fooling ourselves with a lot of reasons and justifications. But those who make use of the Quran, which is the ultimate guidance sent to us by Allah, and reflect upon it and let it enter our system the way it is supposed to, then we will know that not only is Allah aware of the fact that we would be faced with these kinds of dilemmas in our lives, but He also provides us with unbeatable solutions to it and promises us success and victory as long as we abide by His rules. Allah says in Surah Baqarah verse 268, Shaitan threatens you with poverty and orders you to commit evil deeds, whereas Allah promises you forgiveness from Himself and bounty. And Allah is all-sufficient for His creatures, all-knower. And what is the ultimate solution that He provides? His promise. Allah promises us in Surah Talaq, verse 2-3, and whoever fears Allah and keeps his duty to Him, He will make a way for him to get out of every difficulty, and He will provide him from sources he never could imagine. And He manifests Himself as Al-Fattah in Surah Fatir, verse 2. Whatever mercy Allah opens for mankind, then none can hold it back. And whatever He holds back, then none can send it forth after Him. And He is the ever-mighty, the ever-wise. I would like to share with you an inspiring true story that's related to this. My maid is a very hard-working lady who is abandoned by her husband and has a teen daughter to take care of. She came to me one day saying that she has a lot of debts and the only way to pay them off was by taking an interest-based loan and build an additional story to her house which she could rent out and earn money from. I tried my best making her understand how sinful it is to pay interest and advised her to stay away from it. I told her about the promises of Allah and spoke to her about the above mentioned ayahs in the Quran. I promised her that if she stays away from it, Allah will help in a way she couldn't have imagined. After a few hours of trying to convince her, by Allah's leave, she agreed to suspend all the procedure for the approval of the loan, which was almost completely done. She comes to me next day, her eyes all welled up, saying that she's never ever felt this relief and serenity in her life before than now when she sacrificed something for the sake of Allah. But something had already happened just before she came to me with those teary eyes. Two people who specifically had the niyyah to help people who stay away from interest told me that they would like to offer her some money on a monthly basis until her debts were all paid off. The next day, one more person joins in to help her. And as we calculated the amount, it was sufficient for her to pay off her debts within a few months, even if she stopped working altogether, subhanallah. The day after that, she comes to me, her face all beaming with glee, and tells me that she got 5 paying guests for rupees 3,000 each. 2 days after that, she gets another surprise from a factory where she used to work as a janitor, notifying her about an allowance amount of rupees 25,000 that she had not withdrawn when she used to work there. Something she did not even know existed. A week or so after this, a pension from the government for destitute women abandoned by husbands, which she had applied for a very long time back and had given up hope on, and so had completely forgotten about, suddenly gets sanctioned. Rupees 50,000. This time she comes to me too shocked and asks me, what on earth did you do to me? What magic did you do to me that suddenly there is so much money flowing towards me that I don't even know what to do with it? Allahu Akbar. I told her that it's not me, rather it's the one I promised about. Even though I promised her with what Allah has promised with full conviction from my side, wallahi, it was much, much more than what I could have ever imagined. And what brought tears to my eyes was the fact that I made a promise on his behalf to one of his slaves, and he did not just fulfill it, but he flourished it. Subhanallah al-Azim. Not only will Al-Fattah never fail you, but he will also never fail to flabbergast you. It's always been the sunnah of Allah. Even in the past, when Allah sends us a solution, He gives us that which exceeds our expectations. When Hajar was running between Safa and Marwa,